Today, we've got sellers on the show that I originally met in Italy, and now they're selling millions of dollars on Amazon. We're going to hear their story, which includes a case where one of their competitors even sent fake reports to the media about their product's safety in order to get them kicked off of Amazon. How crazy is that? Pretty crazy, I think. What was your gross sales yesterday, last week, last year? More importantly, what are your profits after all your cost of selling on Amazon? Did you pay any storage charges to Amazon? How much did you spend on PPC? Find out these key metrics and more by using the Helium 10 tool, Profits. For more information, go to h10.me/profits. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that is a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed, organic conversation about serious strategies or serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. And today, we are doing what I think is a first. We are having a 3-continent podcast at the same time. All right, we're not recording this separately. I'm here in North America. We've got Peter, who I believe is in the Asian continent, and we've got Franco, who is in Europe. So welcome to the show. And the funny thing is, I met all of them in person, at least, in Italy, which is why I'm wearing my Mona Lisa shirt, my Mona Lisa shirt here. So anyways, welcome to the show, guys, and good afternoon and good morning to Franco, and it's good evening here.
Thanks, Bradley. Thanks for having us.
Now, as I said, I met these gentlemen at a conference in Milan, Italy recently, and just talking to them a little bit, I'm like, man, all right, I don't want to know too much more because this sounds interesting, and I just love to find out about the rest of your stories, along with everybody else on the podcast. Now, that was like a couple months ago, so the cool thing is, with my terrible memory, the little that they did tell me, I've already forgotten. So guys, I am going to be learning everything, right with you. With all the listeners today. So let's first of all, the first thing that blew me away was, here's Peter, and you guys can't see him. He is he's in Asia right now, and he is of Asian descent. He looks. I'm half Asian. I don't look Asian. Peter looks Asian. And then here he is sitting with me in this Italian restaurant and ordering in perfect Italian. I'm like, what? Do I really have jet lag? What is going on right here? So, Peter, let's start with your backstory. Were you? Oh yeah, and by the way, the way he speaks English was also a little bit different. So were you born and raised in Australia, or where were you born and raised?
Yeah, so I grew up in Australia, but actually I was born in the States. I don't know if I mentioned that.
In the States. That makes it even more interesting. I love it. Yeah. Whereabouts here in the States?
In Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Okay. Yeah. Man, that's still the coldest I've ever been. Not sure I want to go back there in winter, but all right. So you were in Minneapolis, and the Minneapolis Australia connection is not very common. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So if I take it back a step further, as you said, I'm Asian. My parents were born in China.
Okay.
And they met in the US. So that's why I was born there.
Okay.
And then after they finished their studies, they decided they wanted to move to Australia. So when I was a baby still, we immigrated to Australia.
Okay. All right. And then now growing up in Australia, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up? What did you think your profession was going to be?
Yeah, I didn't have any special different aspirations. I was like all the other kids, fireman or policeman or anything like that. Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Didn't think of being an entrepreneur or e-commerce guy or anything like that.
Did you go to university in Australia?
Yes, I did. I studied engineering. Yeah, had a very traditional upbringing. Yeah.
Okay. And then upon graduation, did you start working in that field?
Yes, I did. So as I had no real exposure to my Asian roots, I wanted to do 1 year in Asia, so I ended up working in Hong Kong. So I worked in Hong Kong for a little while with in the engineering field related to engineering.
Did you speak Chinese?
I did not. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Asia, because growing up in Australia,
Yeah.
At that time, I was the only Asian kid in school. There was no real interaction with other families or anything, so I just spoke English.
Okay. Now, USA to Australia to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
How did you end up speaking Italian?
So when I was in Hong Kong, I got headhunted for a job in Italy. So yeah, I took the opportunity and went over there and lived there for a few years and worked there for a few years.
Okay. That's cool that you learned the language. Some people,
Yeah.
go to other countries and years, and they are not able to learn the language. That's a cool skill there. And all right, so that brings us to. I mean, obviously you're not in Italy anymore. So how long did you stay in Italy?
I think it was about 5 years.
About 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And was it during your run in Italy there that you started on Amazon, or how did you go from engineering to e-commerce?
No. So while I was in Italy, I also got headhunted for another job, and I was moved to Shanghai. And while I was in Shanghai, I met one of my friends who I did sport with was very much into Amazon, and he always kept talking about it. And then finally, one day I said, "This sounds really interesting. Why don't you show me what you're doing?" And I offered to invest in what his business, because it sounded like it was really good. And he said, "No, why don't you just try it yourself?" So I did it as a hobby for a while, and then eventually it became my full-time thing.
Okay. All right. Now we're caught up to kind of like the e-commerce. Let's go ahead and take the journey with Franco. Now, for you, it's a lot easier backstory. Were you born and raised in Italy and lived there your whole life, or did you live in 17 million countries like Peter?
No, I was born and raised in Italy. I passed a couple of years in China, but it means that I was there like every month of April and every month of October since 2003. So was not like living permanently there. I was living in a hotel. So basically, I've been living my life in Italy.
Okay. All right. Now, what about you? What did you go to university for?
I did pure math. And when I was studying at university, I thought that I would be doing academia after that. But then I changed my mind.
Okay. So upon graduation then, what did you enter into if you didn't want to go ahead and take that route that you thought you were going to take?
Yeah, indeed. When I graduated, I didn't really know what to do because I changed my mind. Didn't want to be a university professor of math. And so I was going into my other side of me that was being an entrepreneur. So I did an MBA. And after that MBA, I worked for a couple of years as a marketing assistant in a company. And during that time, I founded two companies, two different ones with friends of mine. And then I resigned. And from that point, I've always been an entrepreneur.
Okay. All right. So what year did you go full on into e-commerce then, would you say?
I went into e-commerce probably more than 10 years ago.
.com or other marketplaces or
now I'm in Europe. We're selling at that time. I was selling.
But I mean, what I meant was, the .com is not in Europe. But what I meant was like online sales, or was it like a marketplace?
No, it was our own e-commerce, our own.
Got it.
Yes, our own website, and we were selling. I was selling with my company. I was selling rubber trucks that are the equivalent of tire for excavators, and accessories for construction equipment. So something that probably even today you cannot sell on Amazon because like super huge and super heavy.
So you exited that company and then you said you became like a full-time entrepreneur. What was that endeavor like? Full-time into like what was your was it just still online sales or now you got into Amazon or what happened there?
Okay, so now most of my time is 100% of my time is on Amazon. Okay. But that other company, the one that now is doing Amazon, as a long story because I started in 1999, and we have been doing so many different stuff because we started from scratch with nothing. So we started doing multimedia content. Then we went into doing CD and DVD duplication. That means producing physical discs. Then USB flash drives, accessories for smartphones, electronics in general, and then medical devices. When we went into medical devices, we went quite big on our e-commerce. That was not something that we were doing in this company. We were doing business to business mainly. And then from that, we went into Amazon. Not that we even had tried to do Amazon before because we opened the Amazon account in 2014, but it was just a sort of, let's see what's happening there, not really investing in that. So we were becoming big on Amazon since 2020.
All right, now we're kind of caught up in a similar timeline here. Let's go back to Peter then. Are you still selling your your first product today, Peter?
Yes, I think I started with 2 or 3, and all of those 3 products I'm still selling. Yep.
How long has that been?
I started in 2017.
Wow, the same product. How many reviews do you have now, approximately, on that one?
Oh, maybe 3,000 or something like that. Reviews and ratings.
All right.
Yeah.
Reviews and ratings. All right. So you're still selling the same stuff that you got into. How did you find that first product? Did you just like take some course, that a lot of people, did, and then just use the criteria to find the product and just struck gold in your first one, or how in the world did you hit a home run with your very first product?
So my friend had done the ASM course, and so he suggested I did it as well. He helped me. He taught me the beginning steps. I was doing the normal thing everyone was doing, just looking for a product that had an opportunity that seemed like a good, not too competitive, good price, et cetera, and I was just lucky. I picked something that could last a while.
Now, during this time, you said you were back in China, or were you in Italy?
No, I was already in Shanghai at that point.
Ready in China. Okay. And then, so what marketplace did you launch this product on, USA or Europe?
Yeah. So I started in the USA, but I think within the first year, I knew I wanted to be in Europe. So I immediately started in the European marketplace. I applied for VAT and everything. So pretty soon after US, Europe, I was into Europe.
Now, was it any more easy than another person because you had lived in Italy before, or that meant nothing? You were applying as an American. Were you an American citizen since you were born in America, or?
Technically, I have dual citizenship, but I always travel with an Australian passport. But answering your question, so when I started Europe, I wanted to try the UK and Italy first before going into all the other countries. So yes, there would have been a small advantage starting with the Italian market because I didn't have to worry too much about translations or understanding what things were going. So small advantage, I would say, but not huge advantage.
Okay. All right. Now, what did in the first couple years of selling on Amazon? What was your peak of sales for like a year? Gross sales.
I think it was either the second or the third year I reached 7 figures. So
okay.
I was going at 7 figures for a while, but in the last 2 years, I decided to focus more on profitability than revenue. So it's now in the 6 figures, but making more profit overall.
Now, at what point did, like you said, it become your full-time job? Like at what level did you have to get to for it to replace, your engineering jobs that you've been doing for most of your adult life?
I was able to replace it. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years into the business, maybe 4 years.
You say you sell in multiple marketplaces.
Yes.
Do you aim for the same profit across the board, or is there a marketplace that's giving you better profit over another?
For sure, Europe is way more profitable than the US for my products.
And why is that? Is it the shipping? Is it the PPC? Or what's, you're able to charge a higher price? What's the difference?
It's the sellers in Europe. There's less of them in my category, at least. And the sellers are less sophisticated, so they're not as good as branding, PPC, and just the basic stuff.
Okay. All right, let's go back to Franco then. So when you started on Amazon, sounds like you started doing different things, but was there a point where you were only doing the medical devices, as you said, or did you start with only medical devices and that's all you've been doing this whole time?
When I started in 2014, we started with electronic, with accessories for smartphones. Mm-hmm. But we were making money with other stuff, so we didn't really take care of a lot about that, and we were a little bit inexperienced. So we also did a couple of mistakes, like in the quality of the products. So we just got a lot of bad reviews, and we say, okay, we are making other stuff. We don't care about this, and we just kept the account open, but we didn't use it. When in 2020 we started doing medical devices, we went big almost immediately on Amazon. But before that, as I said, we were doing pretty well in the like 6 or 7 months before on our e-commerce. That was the same e-commerce that was selling the electronics that was like a dead website, and we changed it.
And were you only selling in Amazon Europe?
Yes, because our product do not have the certification for selling in the US. They are very highly restricted and certified. So the regulatory stuff in US is completely different.
Now, what's been your peak year of gross sales? Approximately how much?
10 million.
10 million only in Europe in 1 year
Yeah.
in medical devices.
Yes.
Wow. So is it safe to say that now Amazon is the main, as opposed to your website?
Absolutely.
Are you still even doing anything on the websites or just
We
all
still
Amazon?
have it, but I think it's very important because one of the reasons why we were successful on Amazon is because we know so well our customer, we know so well what they want from the product, and when we launch a product, we can tell to our customer, "Hey, there is also this new product. You can also find this in Amazon." So it's like it's gives a lot of help. But because of the growth that we had on Amazon, we have a little bit of neglected our website. So we should, as soon as we have more band, we should like keep make the website better and grow the website as well.
Now, as Peter was saying, Europe is very profitable for him, partly, in fact, due to low competition. I would imagine being in the medical device field, makes it even less competition. Would that be a fair assessment that it's very few, competitors you have, or has it gotten a little bit more tough to?
So I would say there are not so many, but the ones that are there are very aggressive.
Okay, aggressive as in they might do some black hat strategies and things like that, or what do you mean by aggressive?
Yes, also, and because on medical, it's very like you can get suspended for any kind of claim. So yeah, it's quite an aggressive field, and so yeah.
What's the craziest thing that has happened to you? Like I would assume that you've maybe had your account shut down or at least products suspended, or what's been some crazy experiences you've had?
The greatest things that happened to me was competitor that wanted to get rid of all the big seller of the same product. So he created some fake test report. He passed those test report to the media, and from media they went on national TV, and that was insane. At the same time, they hijacked.
Hold on. So he made some fake report.
Yeah.
About like that your product is like unsafe or something.
Right.
Gave it to like a TV station, and it got in.
First, they gave it to a media, to a newspaper.
To a newspaper, and it made
the biggest newspaper. From the newspaper, bump it to the national TV. Yeah. And then
so what was the result? Like, did Amazon see that and then shut you down, or did you just start getting bad reviews, or did what happened?
We were very inexperienced on all the way to do stuff properly on Amazon. I mean, we didn't even have the brand register at that time. So they were also able to hijack at the same time. They hijacked our product, and they left all our picture, the branding of our product, but we could not access our listing anymore. It's insane. I know it's insane. Up to now, I haven't heard of anyone that has an attack like that.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, and after the listing was destroyed. Took us 1 month to get back the ownership of the listing, and when it happened, it was not possible to. I mean, it was like flu. That was probably more than 1,000 of bad reviews, 1,000 of like 1-star reviews.
Now, did the newspapers and media and stuff, did they ever, submit like retraction or correction?
Oh, well, yes, the newspaper, we submitted like a press release to the newspaper. The newspaper added our press release to their news, but customer don't really care. I mean,
sure.
Amazon business is a quick business. It's very quick. So we look into that with probably I think the best lawyer we could find. We usually have very good lawyers, and there was not a way to have it fixed as soon as we wanted, or to have like an economical compensation because of the way it was structured, the attack.
Okay. All right. Now, Peter, like it's safe to say that you've never had that level of attack, or, I don't think anybody has had that level of attack. So,
I don't think
but
I've
I'm
had
sure,
my things
you've
on national television.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had some crazy things happen. Anything like anything that's happened to you that would you say you would call it, your kind of like worst experience on Amazon or craziest experience?
I haven't had anything really horrible. I've had a lot of the standard, like minor attacks from competitors, but probably the scariest one I had was I think it was 3 weeks before Christmas, a big competitor in our space did an IP complaint against me and had my product suspended. But luckily, I was able to get it back within a week. That could have easily dragged on for months, but I was very lucky I got it back in a week. That was obviously very scary.
How did you get it back?
Just submitted appeals. I have a lawyer, which I use all the time, and even they said, yeah, that's way faster than we normally see. You were really lucky. So I was just super lucky.
Okay. Now, let's not just scare everybody with all these bad stories. Peter, sticking with you, what's the best thing that's happened to you, or the craziest in a good way, or your biggest surprise or biggest win you've had over the years on Amazon?
I think the first one, which was really a happy experience for me. I've heard other guests on your podcast say similarly. I had a product, one of my standard products, and in the UK, suddenly I was having 10 times sales that I normally have. So, and this was quite early on, so I still didn't know about being attacked. So I wasn't worried like I would be now. And in those days, you could still write to the customers quite easily. So I was writing to a few of them, and I got a response back that a celebrity, they had seen the product used by a celebrity on their social media. So yeah, that was fantastic, and yeah, I knew that celebrity, so it was pretty cool.
Awesome. Now, you've sold in multiple marketplaces, but you're probably an expert, I would say, on the Italian one. Is what you do on Amazon Italy 100% the same strategy across the board? Like, I mean, obviously the language is different, but is your PPC strategy the same? Is your branding strategy the same? Is your keyword research strategy the same? Or is there something different that you're doing in Italy, due to your experience there?
No, I would say everything's exactly the same. As I mentioned before, it was a small advantage, and even now it's practically no advantage with the translation software that's available. So I'm just doing the same thing in all the marketplaces.
That's good to know, because so some sellers out there, they start in a marketplace, whether it's Italy, whether it's Germany, whether it's USA, and they're like kind of scared sometimes to branch out, because they're like, oh man, I'm gonna have to learn a whole bunch of new strategies to go to this new marketplace. But no, it's across the board. I mean, sure, every now and there's VAT, and then in Japan you might have to do a little something different, but for the most part the strategy is the same. Now, what's going on these days with, you mentioned you sell in UK and Italy. What changed after the Brexit? Like, now do you have to send inventory to UK and then send inventory to Italy separately, and it's completely separated and segregated, or what was the difference after Brexit? Yeah,
so you've probably heard of Pan-European, and probably your listeners who have some experience know about Pan-European. Maybe I can explain that really quickly.
Go ahead, please.
It's like the US, when you send a shipment it goes to one location, and then Amazon will spread it out all over the US, right?
So they call that North American remote fulfillment is what it's called over here.
Right. So they have the same thing in Europe. If you're VAT registered in their core countries, which was UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, I think that's all of them. It was the same thing. You'd send it to one country, and then they would spread it out amongst all the countries as if it was one country. So that was very convenient. When Brexit happened, the UK became its own separate country. So all the work that you do logistically, which you used to do for Europe, then you had to repeat it for the UK. So it was a bit of a hassle time-wise. Okay.
All right. Now, switching back to Franco, you had the worst thing that somebody could possibly imagine happen to you. Now, the same question, that I gave Peter. What was the best thing that's happened to you? I mean, other than the fact that you're not even selling in the USA and you can still gross 10 million a year. I mean, that by itself is pretty amazing. But what else other than that is a cool thing that's happened to kind of like pump up people's spirits after feeling so sorry for you?
No, yeah. Well, I think that if I put on one hand the bad thing, on the other thing, the good thing outweighed the bad thing. And the best one was the velocity to which we could reach the number one in health or personal care category with our product was like in 3 weeks. So
number one, as in BSR one in the whole health category?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was between 2020 and 2021. We reached that position in like 3 weeks with our product. This is why we got attacked.
3 weeks from the time you launched?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, then tell me. I got to pause you there. Then, how in the world did that happen? Like, did you have some crazy campaign? Was it all organic?
No.
How did you go from zero to number one?
No,
so
they were product related to COVID.
Okay.
That's the reason.
Now, did you? Was this after COVID you started, or did you just get lucky? Like it was something you were starting and you had no idea COVID was happening and the timing was just right, or how in the world did you manage?
Well, we have been manufacturing in China since I told you, since 2003. We have a very strong presence in China. And so when COVID hit China in January 2020, I knew it was coming to Italy or to Europe. I was pretty sure. I also wrote an article about that. And so when that happened, I was a sort of reference for many people to say, hey, can you help? Can you do something? Because, Italy was the first country in the Western world to be hit very hard. And so we started doing those like masks, those kind of products for COVID. And at the beginning, we were just doing that for hospitals, like for where it was really needed. And then after that, we went to doing this on our e-commerce. And the reason was that we ran out of money because the request was so insane. Because we looked into that so deeply that we were 100% legit. Our product was like probably the safest you can buy at the right price. We didn't want to speculate. We really want to help the country. And so we had a good product at the right price. And we have an insane amount of demand for all those like state-owned stuff, like the police, even the finance police was buying from us. And so when we ran out of money, we opened the e-commerce because we need some very short money cycles. And, on e-commerce, you get the money like right away. And so after that, like 6 months later, and also we got a lot of our e-commerce was an instant success as well because we were supplying all the hospitals. And so our product with our brand was in everyone's hands. And so our e-commerce was an instant success. And then we asked like in April 2020 to our product to be listed on Amazon, and Amazon didn't accept it. And you have to consider at that time on Amazon, it was flooded with products that were not legit. Like all the things you were finding on Amazon related to the kind of product was like not compliant. We submitted our product, we were rejected. We said, okay, I don't care. I have other stuff to do. And then in October, I tried to resubmit the product. It was rejected again. I said, okay. But in November, for I don't know what, I received like, without asking again to be listed. So the listing was there, but was not active. The listing became active. From that point, I think that because we have so much, brand recognition, trust from the customer. As soon as we told the customer we are on Amazon, it was like that. I mean, we could have been number one probably in a week. The only problem was the velocity and that we need to have the product on their warehouse. And so it was like giving 3 days out of stock one day, then 3 because of the space that Amazon was giving us. Because when you are number one, it means you have to send a truck every day or even more. And so, yeah, that's the story.
That's cool. Now, for the last part of this, let's just go back and forth with some strategies, and I don't mean, keep your ACoS down and have a nice logo or, just standard stuff. But, each of you to be at the position you are, which is, Amazon is your full-time business and you've reached 6, 7, even 8 figures. you've got to have some unique strategies and some things that are that you feel are the difference of why you've been so successful. So we'll start, Franco, with you. What is something that it could be a PPC strategy, it could be a launch strategy, it could be branding strategy. What's your first strategy of the day?
Okay, well, I think that still the obsession with the product is a key. So, like having the best product you can have for your customers, and so listening to all the advice. And now you can use AI and do all your research, but do the extra mile. Don't only use AI, because AI is very good to finding. Like patterns, like to putting together something that is said in a different way, but it's not good to find outliers. And many times in the outliers, there are some very good gold nuggets. So talk with as many as you can, even call them and understand what are they paying, what they really want. And when you have the best possible product, then you need to apply all the techniques that Amazon required, like have the best possible page, have those pains and emotion of the customer reflected in your stock image, have the best possible main image ever, like do a lot of testing, an insane amount of testing until you will be the number one choice, and never let the customer down. Whatever they have a problem, solve it, because then you have to reach the position, then you have to stick in the position, because it's a never ending story.
All right, switching back to Peter, what's your first strategy that you'd like to share?
I'd give a general one and then maybe an Amazon specific one. Very general. I think there's a lot of listeners on your podcast that are maybe just starting out. So I would suggest just to keep things simple. I've seen some people, they try and go too advanced from the beginning, and it's they get in over their head. They don't understand what's happening. So I would just keep it simple. Even though I've been doing it for a long time, I also follow the same principle. I don't have any full-time staff. I just try and keep things as simple as possible. And then specifically for Amazon, as I mentioned before, I think especially if you're getting started, you really need to think about products or a product that you can brand. If you can't brand a product, for example, if you're doing, I don't know, stationery or cleaning accessories or something, it's very difficult to build a brand around that, to build user excitement. So that's something you probably need to consider as well.
Okay. Going back to Franco, like you can give us another strategy, but before you do that, I wanted to kind of like double down on what you were talking about. You were saying, hey, have the best listing, have the best images, and do a lot of testing. How are you doing this testing, and how are you making sure that you have, the best?
Well, I'm using all the software as a service that are available. So I take my 3 or 4 competitors, and I test my main image against against the main image of my competitors. Then I got all the advice from the pollers, like we choose this because of this, we don't like this because of that. We run AI on that, but we don't only run AI. I read all the response one by one, and I try to see how I can make it better. And then I write like something that what need to be done. I pass this to and I try to be very, very specific. Like many times I take a piece of paper and make driving by myself. Like, this is how I want this to be. And then I pass to my designer, and then the designer make a new couple of variations. I test again. And sometimes I go very deeply on that. Like, I am not happy until I get that out of 5 possible choice of main image, my main image gets 60% of the clicks, and the other 4 share the 40%.
So it's not just a matter of, all right, hey, I won with 30%, another one has 28, another one has 26. That's, even though you won, that's a failure to you.
It's a failure to me. I won like 60% and 40% split between the other 4. Then I know that I'll stand out, and this is the first step. Then I need to, the page has to be consistent, and then I need to maintain my promise to the customer.
Are you selling? You stay with Franco here. Are you selling in all European marketplaces, like including the newer ones like Poland, Netherlands, or are you focused only on the bigger ones?
So my sellers, I sell both on 1P Vendor Central and 3P Seller Central, and I have all the accounts. I mean, all the 9 accounts in Europe, but the only one that really matters are the big 5: UK, Italy, Germany, Spain, and France. And for the most of my product, I cannot use the pan-European as Peter does, because there are specific regulations for each. So there is on top, there is the EU regulation, but then there are specific regulations on a country level. So Amazon do not allow us to do the pan-EU. We need to stock the product on each country.
That's a lot of work, then increases your workload to manage the logistics in each country like that.
All right. Going back to Peter, you have any more strategies for us? But before you get to that, what about you? You know, you mentioned UK and Italy. Are you also selling in all 9 marketplaces, or are you only keeping your listings active in the big ones?
Yeah, it was only UK and Italy when I first started in Europe to get an idea of how it worked. And almost immediately, I think I only did UK and Italy for 3 months. And then straight away, I went into the pan-European.
Outside of the big 5, if you had to pick one of the newer ones, which one are they all doing equal, or is there one that you feel, hey, you know, down the road this could become the sixth one?
That's a good question. Now, I haven't really focused on any of the new ones. I think what have you got? Belgium, Sweden. I can't remember, but from
Poland's,
Czech Republic. But from what I've seen, they're all very minimal. I haven't really put in effort into them. I wouldn't say there's one that particularly stands out.
And then for all of those, are you just using what Amazon does for the auto translation, or did you commission official translation, with a service or something? Obviously you did the Italian one yourself, but what about for these other languages?
Actually, I didn't do the Italian one myself. I used Jana's service, YLT. Shout out to Jana.
Okay.
But for the other marketplaces, no, I haven't specifically worked on those. I've just left it with Amazon doing their own translations. And then they have a similar system to NAF. So for Canada and Mexico, then for the other countries that we just mentioned, they'll take the product from Germany or France or wherever, and then they'll send it over. It's a similar system.
Okay. All right. Any more specific strategies for us that you'd like to share?
I do a lot on social media. I don't know if you've seen that's been a huge part of improving profitability in the last 2 years. So the PPC costs were going up incredibly. Like for us, TAC cost was getting up to 30%, maybe even 40% for some products. And now with some strong, a lot of work on the social media side, I've managed to bring that down to less than 5%, which I think is quite rare in the industry for the tacos.
Less than 5% tacos? Wow, that's
and most of it, and most of the tacos is brand defense on the product page. So yeah, that's been huge for us to make that change.
What does the future hold for you, Franco? Like you just, hey, let's just keep going, or are you looking to exit, your business and retire? You looking to start any more brands, or like what's your, you looking 1 year down the road, 5 years down the road, buying a lower division Italian football team, or like what's gonna?
Yeah, maybe. No, but my dream would be to have my company reach 9 figures. That's a very, very difficult endeavor, and
at that level, I think you might be ready for Inter Milan or AC Milan. Forget the lower division; you'll be ready to buy one of those. What else?
And that could be through acquisitions of other brands or through expanding our product range. We have been looking into many, many things.
Okay.
What about you, Peter? What's the future hold for you?
Yeah, I'm just happy doing what I'm doing. I don't have any near-term plans to sell the business. I enjoy what I do, and just going to keep going.
All right. Excellent. Now, why don't we just go ahead and close this out with a 1 or 2 sentence words of farewell in Italiano here. Start with Franco. Say something for the Italian community out there.
La comunità italiana dei venditori Amazon deve crescere, ha una grandissima potenzialità. Amazon è diventato uno dei mercati più importanti in Europa, quindi forza ragazzi, conquistiamo Amazon.
All right. And Peter, where's your Italian words of wisdom?
Se qualcuno in Italia sente questo, passa a Shanghai, sarà contento di vederti. There you go. Nice, short and sweet.
All right. I have no idea. They were saying this host of the podcast is
super sexy host of this podcast, is what I said.
All right, there we go. That's good. Well, I'll believe that. All right, well, guys, thank you so much. It was great to have you on. It was great to meet you and hang out in Italy. We found that little nice restaurant that I was like not expecting much, but that was really, really delicious food. My whole time in Italy was good food. But I look forward to seeing you at a future conference, whether it be in Asia, North America, or Europe. So thanks for coming on.